back on?
Okay, now we are recording.
We are now coming back into regular session at 1 p.m. on November 14th, 2019. So now we have some informational items we need to go through. I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Simmons.
Okay, so the first item is our 2018-2019 charter first report. So we did send that information out to the board to let them know that we passed, and so pass is the highest rating that we can receive. So I'm very excited and just want to thank our finance office, Christian Chestnut and Jay McCryer, and working with the auditors to ensure that that we receive the highest rating possible. And Lynn Beergiver, I think she says some if we have questions and things like that. So
very little. Those ladies have it all down pat.
They sure do. So you can see we received a pass score in all 7 categories. So thanks so much to their hard work.
Yeah, when you go to the actual website, this is basically a printout of that website. Those indicators, you can click on them, and it actually takes you, if you'll scroll a little more, Christian.
Oh, yes.
So each of these sheets that you received, so like that was number 1, and that's basically the data that they looked at to see that we passed. And then you keep going, and there was number 2. So each of those indicators, you can click on it, and it will tell you how, what data they were looking at, and whether that was passed or not. And so we did pass all 7 categories. We also included for you the spreadsheet where those figures are coming from. That's completed at the end of the audit. That sheet is completed by the auditor with. It's basically the brown book that we review and that you approve that the auditor brings in. That spreadsheet is basically that brown book in spreadsheet form. All the values and everything that you've already seen and received that you have a copy of is represented in that spreadsheet. That's what's actually submitted to TEA is the spreadsheet, and then they pull from that, and that's how they determine if we pass certain indicators or not.
All right. You want to go back to the agenda?
Yes, give me one moment here. Here's the agenda.
All right, so district and campus enrollments and attendance. We definitely have a celebration here. I don't know if we have the charts if you want to pull those up. But one of the main celebrations that we have is that we are seeing less mobility and a higher retention rate across all 3 campuses. And so what that means is usually right now, if you recall in the past years, we've come to you and go, oh, we've lost, 30 students, and so we built a budget off X number, and so we're going to have to go back and look at how we can make some changes. But this year we see the retention rate, which is very positive, because if we can maintain that, then we're really growing our own. Like, our kindergartners are going to 1st grade, and 1st grades are going to 2nd grade. This is the group of kids that would eventually go all the way through our system and then have the opportunity to transition to a university. And so having that opportunity to have those students all 13 years it's going to be interesting to track. I just believe that, I know personally having them earlier and developing that strong foundation with our teachers is going to impact them academically over time. And you can see that our attendance rates, directors are monitoring attendance closely. We have had a bug here in Tyler. In 1st grade, there was one day we had 12 students out. And so we ran through a little stomach bug here. And so Ms. Dennis worked closely with parents and communicating and calling parents. And so hopefully we're over that, and that's going to improve as well.
Just to point out, you skipped the financial update. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, thanks. Oh, I didn't see that. Okay. So total enrollment is 844, and as you can see, again, largest campus, Tyler 324, Longview 274, and Talstein 246. Right, financial updates.
Can I jump back to the first report, because there was some things that I needed to point out. We have to present Joanne's contract, so we printed it and for y'all to pass around if y'all need to look at it for
Not a contract.
Not a contract. Or offer letter, excuse me. The word they use is contract on there, but I just needed to make sure that was put out there.
Yes, most schools are.
And then
Most of them, every other one.
There were some items for the first report that we had to compile and present to y'all. Like, these are the reimbursements that the superintendent has received. And when they say reimbursements, they don't mean just like things that were reimbursed to her. They mean like if she went on travel, the university paid for travel or registration or that kind of thing. So that's what all of those things include. And like if we paid for any of that for board members, we have to report this separately. So all that's up there as well.
Which board members were these?
I left the names off because we don't have to
You don't have to.
disclose the
I
name,
gotcha.
but I do have to tell you if someone was. So there's that. And then if the superintendent has any outside compensation, there's that. And then if y'all received any gifts that we know about or any kind of transactions between us and y'all, that's all reported, and all of that's zero. So all of that is zero for that. And then on to the financial update. So far, we have, let me get this going here. This is for just the general fund. So far, we've received $1.2 million in revenue, and we've expensed $1.3 million. And then I also want to point out that our rollover will be finalized once the finance audit is over. And then this one is just about for our activity accounts and grants that we've received. We've received $25,000 in revenue and expensed $71,000 across those accounts. All right. Any questions? Nope.
All right, so we'll bundle the campus updates, facility, transportation, and administrative, just to kind of give you an overview of those things. So as far as facilities, you can see that we're doing some work here in Tyler. We're actually doing having a sidewalk that's constructed, because in the past couple of years when we purchased the UA5, students are having to walk, especially in the mud, and we put gravel in, and the gravel washes away because of the slope. And you know, consistently students are having to walk when it rains. They're walking in the rain, in the mud. And so we were able to get approval to make that, to have a sidewalk built out of that. And that is we used our this year's funds for that project. We are having them look at an estimate to have it covered, because right now, any kid that needs to go over to UA5 for either gym, cafeteria, or for class, they're having to either have an umbrella or walk in the rain. And so, you know, consistently kids are getting wet, because every kid just naturally doesn't carry an umbrella, and, you know, trying to maintain enough umbrellas for every kid to walk over there. What happens is usually the older kids take off running, you know, and so, you know, are worried about injuries and them slipping and falling because they're running in the rain. And so we're getting a bid for that to hopefully construct a walkway, so at least we keep the kids out of the mud and the rain for sure. Safety, we're looking at building a fence. We've already approved that project. So meaning when I say approved, we've already given them the cost center. So now we're just waiting on the timeline for the construction of it. So there will be a fence that's built in Longview and in Tyler that's going to take in the playgrounds, because right now the playgrounds are just wide open, especially with the younger students. And especially here in Tyler, our teachers have to really be careful that those kids don't wander off down into the woods because there's no barrier. And, you know, kids will be kids. And so, you know, they are constantly counting, like, when you ever, you know, just to say, where's John? Oh, is he underneath the slide? You know, and so really trying to monitor that. So we do have the fence that we're building, and that has been approved. We recently painted, as you've seen, we painted the front offices here in Tyler. And we're also going to paint the offices in Longview. And then over the summer, we are painting all the classrooms in both Longview and in Tyler. And so really trying to do some things to improve it. If we're going to be in modulars, we're going to embrace the modulars, but we're going to make sure that we keep them nice and clean and make the very best of the situation. And so that's really been something I've stressed to staff this year, is making sure that things are organized. We present the campus is kept clean, and that things are, we do have opportunities for teachers to have a break. And so we've kind of developed a little break room here, which we've really never had the space, but we're to the point now we just have to make it, try to find a table that fits that area with some chairs for them to be able to step out of the classroom when needed. So just looking at things that we can do to really, again, improve the overall campus. We brought in some movers and we removed all of the broken furniture, all of the, in fact, I had them out back, removing old basketball goals and things like that, just to clean up the campus, clean out closets. We're getting ready to go in and audit all of our student cum files, so that in the event that there's files that meet the timeline to be shredded, we're going to go in and shred those documents. So just to allow for more space. So just really trying to support that. In addition, we are developing a new website, so we're working with the university on that development, and so we're real excited about that transition. We're hoping that that's going to be completed by the end of the semester, so that we can get all the required documents in there by the time that we go through the process of enrollment and lotteries and things like that, because we know that teachers and that prospective parents utilize that site during that time a lot more. Thinking about other facility updates, everything in Longview is still pending, waiting to hear. I presented, in fact, Dr. Odell has helped me as well. We presented everything that they've requested, and so waiting to see if there's going to be funding there to support that addition of additional classrooms off the back of Longview. We presented 3 proposals, so just waiting to see which one they're going to accept and the timeline on that. I know I've had some parents ask me already, what is the timeline? Are we going to have kindergarten in 2021? And at this time, it's out of my hands. But I would love to have that. I think there's just great opportunity there to increase revenue. That would allow us to pay back the loans, or I shouldn't say it's a loan. We don't have a loan with the university, but pay back our payments even quicker, which would allow us then to build a stronger fund balance, so we can look at some other options for development. Any other questions regarding facilities? Anything, ladies, you think that I've left out plans? I know we've approved several things to do to make some renovations. Okay, and so the next item is transportation. So Jamie, you want to talk about the things we've done there?
Yeah, so first of all, you all know that we got the new bus and that we had ordered the vans. We were scheduled for production on the vans like September 27th or 8th or something, and then they had the GM strike started like September 18th. So of course we went on hold, no vehicles were being produced. Strike ended about 2 weeks ago now, 2.5 weeks ago. So we're hoping that they just picked up on that production list where they left off, and so we should be maybe getting something soon back from them about the new vans. We hired a part-time bus driver / vehicle fleet coordinator person who has done a lot of work on the vehicles. She had the 2 older buses. She actually stripped stuff from the 3rd bus that doesn't work. They actually stripped some cushions and visors and just different parts off of it that they could to utilize on the 2 older buses to bring them back up to par. We had Joanne authorized for the seats to be recovered in both of those older vehicles. They've both had, some new lights put in, some, different compliance type things, like heater repaired, things like that. So all of the buses are like, basically running top notch right now. They're being utilized. They've been numbered and cleaned up, and some trash cans and brooms and things like that put in there so that the bus drivers have access to clean up the buses good and keep them in the condition they should be in when they come back from a trip. We've developed a bus schedule calendar that allows us to help schedule the drivers, because we did find some drivers, but they're located here in Tyler. So like Palestine, we've been having to kind of schedule for them. So Our office is managing that right now. Eventually, if Palestine can find some of their own drivers, then we'll put that back on the campuses. Longview manages their own driver right now. If for some reason he's not available, we have the 2 additional people, really 3 additional people here right now. So we've been scheduling those things. The white shuttle bus had some problems and needed to have a major repair done on it. In the course of that, we kind of contemplated whether it was worth putting the money into it because it is older and it has over 200,000 miles, but the cost of a new shuttle bus is like $50,000. So, so the repair was done, and so it's back up and being cleaned up.
Just curious what that cost.
It was $6,000.
That's more than we paid for it.
Yeah. Well, it was $6,000 to repair it, so.
It's $5,000 to buy it.
Yeah. Well, and so
It's been
What a
worth
great
it.
deal on
yeah.
Yeah, you got a great deal.
Yeah, and they're looking at if we're going to keep it long term, whether or not we want to do new seat covers in there because the seats in there are fabric, and they've seen their better days versus the vinyl, you know. So those are some things to consider there. The Jeeps are all taken care of. Our maintenance coordinator person, she's basically taking care of making sure that we're in compliance with all sorts of reporting, and that we're road legal and all of that good stuff. And then our drivers, they're having a good time taking kids to
Yeah, they really are
pumpkin
utilizing.
patches and
Having the flexibility of a person having drivers that they know that's not a problem, but then having buses that they feel comfortable getting on. I mean, when students get on the buses and they're all ripped up the seats and they have inappropriate language on them, they're not really excited about that. So I know that each campus was glad to see that the seats are being covered.
The seat covers will cost more than the bus. So you know.
they did. Oh, they did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it costs
the
more
seat
than what.
The seat covers
I paid
cost more
less
than
than
what we
$1,000
paid.
for each of those
Yeah.
buses.
Yeah, seat covers were $2,700 for each bus. Yeah, to have them recovered, but they're new vinyl on them and they look nice. And I even asked her before, the fleet manager, if this is something she has a wealth of experience in. I said, so tell me about these old buses. Are they worth investing in? And she said, oh my gosh, absolutely. She said, these older buses are.
She couldn't believe we paid what we paid for them.
Yeah.
She thinks that she's like, those are good old buses.
They are.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Well, I
Yeah.
picked Linda.
Yeah.
Well, and we are in the process. She's been working with Pinkerton. So now that we've stripped it of everything that we pretty much need off of it, he is having it scrapyarded with the auction. That and the old white Jeep that is not running and hasn't ran for a
Which
while.
I donated.
And has some major, it was a donated vehicle. So those 2 items will be auctioned. So any money that comes of that goes back into the
And the
transportation.
golf carts, we're having those
Yes.
Donated those too.
redone so that we can give those to each campus. We'll have a golf cart if they need it.
Yes, Palestine should have been delivered, I think, yesterday or today.
Their golf cart.
Their golf cart, yes. Longview's, I think, got theirs like a couple days ago. And Longview, or the one here is finished now. So those golf carts are available. But yeah, she's done a great, her name is Angela. She's done a great job. She used to be the transportation director at Chapel Hill. And then she went to work for Rush Bus Centers, and we met her through the purchase of the big bus, the new bus that we just got. When she came and delivered it, we got to talking, and we're like, we just really need some help. And then it turned out like a month later, she left Rush. And I tracked her down and called her and was like, are you interested in helping us out? And so,
Yeah, she's been great. We also qualified, or there's a security grant of about $25,000 that the UA will be able to utilize. And so we've already had a company come out and look at cameras for the Tyler campus. Palestine campus already has cameras. And Longview campus, we're going to have them come out and look at cameras there. Basically, it will be where there is a flat screen where in the administrator's office, they can always see down every hallway, every entrance, and then outside areas. And then in addition to that, we are looking at putting in, I can't think of the access points where you have to have a card, key code, to be able to access the facility at all. Right now, it's just this area here, but we're going to have one put in on the very front here. So you can't even walk in that front door unless we have access. And then also looking at future needs of, do we want an officer right on Tyler campus? We have an officer for Palestine and Longview. And so looking at some of those things to improve security. In addition to that, we have a meeting next week with a food service company. We've reached out. We finally have made contact with one. that serves another charter in this area. And based on our initial meeting, they will be able to, in fact, I went and met with them at the charter school conference in San Antonio. They will be able to meet the needs of all three campuses, as well as provide service at or below the reimbursement rate.
Nice.
And so with that, we have a meeting next week, and then we're gonna look at each facility. They're coming here first to see if they actually wanted to create a kitchen out of Tyler. So it will be a hot meal provided for breakfast and lunch, and then also the other two campuses, they'll deliver a meal. It will be a prepackaged, but it will be a hot meal, so spaghetti with rice and things like that. With the EC numbers increasing and just through observation, I really feel like we need a food program. The number of kids and the things I'm seeing that they're bringing from home or not bringing. And many days I see kids that are not eating anything, so it concerns me. So hopefully my goal is to have that implemented by 2021. So fall of 20, that we'll have a hot breakfast and hot lunch for all the students on the campus. So that's kind of our focus right now.
So the meals would be based out of Tyler and driven to Palestine?
That's all in a negotiation. They have a site in Houston, they have a site in Dallas, and so they do serve a facility here in Tyler that they talked about maybe based as far as they could bring food out of Houston or bring food out of Dallas to Palestine. And they did talk about maybe cooking it here. Everything's left open right now. They want to do a site visit first.
So would it be one company? There's no way you could do three separate?
No, there's when you say one company.
Well, what I mean by that is the business that's providing the food, that's servicing the food. You couldn't do one out of Palestine, one out of Longview, and one out of Tyler, so you avoid having to pay for trip gas.
So the problem with that is that you don't have companies that service and meet the federal guidelines. A restaurant doesn't meet a federal guideline. I would love to say, okay, I'll get Chicken Express and Corner Bakery and Chick-fil-A and all. The problem with all of that is, one, they don't meet the nutritional guidelines, so then you have to get back your federal money. And the problem with this, in addition to that, if a child you still have to meet the needs of the student. So if a student is receiving they're on the free and reduced lunch program, and you partner with, let's say, Chick-fil-A, and that Chick-fil-A costs $6 by the time they deliver it to you, and all that associated with the cost, you have to provide that Chick-fil-A to that student for free.
I see.
So when you look at your 50% numbers and your 30% numbers, pretty soon if you do that, your food service program would probably cost you $100,000+. Right now, we just want to provide it and break even. We don't want to make anything off of it. We want to provide the service for students, to give them a hot meal option in the event they don't have it. I tried their meal. It's a balanced meal, and to know that those students would have a hot breakfast, I think that it would be worth our time, especially if we can make it just break even. If it's one kid that we feed, it's worth it to me. That's not eating right now. So we're currently our meeting with them next week on that.
So that would be on the radar for this next school year?
Yes. When I met with them, I said, this is something I want for 2021. When we start the first day of school, we're going to serve a hot breakfast. We're going to have to serve a hot lunch. And so anyway, that's something we're really focused on as well. Benchmark data came in across all three campuses. We're analyzing it and making growth plans for each individualized student, looking at everything from curriculum alignment to student needs. We have RTI that's taking place, meaning that we're looking at those students that are struggling. So now what interventions are we going to provide them that might be a little different to support them so that they can make progress? And so supporting all of those students, looking at them individually, is another strong focus that we're embracing at this time.
And the early release is to help pad in time to do that? Is that
correct? This first early release is nothing but data. Like that, we have data teams coming in. There's that data. They're analyzing it. They're making intervention plans for those students. The next following one will be a work day /PLC day for teachers. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
I was wondering how the Tyler campus is doing with the Elevate. Because I noticed, I don't know, I knew that both campuses were asking for the donations for the playground expansion. And it looks like we're kind of even. I was wondering what the feel for Tyler campus as far as, I'm looking like for something to motivate our parents. I guess
Yeah.
I mean,
You and I both.
I didn't know if like a friendly wager or something between campuses, or I mean, I was just like, I don't know what.
So great point. So I've been trying to figure out the very same thing, because I'm thinking $25, or we're asking parents to just give $10 or $25. If every parent gets $25, we exceed the expectation of $15,000. The playground's built, and then we look at a coverage for it. Where are we at in Tyler right now?
So Longview's at 1725 and Tyler's at 910.
Yeah, so Tyler, I mean, we're, it's just little by little. So I met with, in fact, Amy Dennis this week. I meet with each director individually every single week, either face-to-face or through Zoom. It's their time for us to sit and talk just about their campus. But one of the things that we've had on our agenda every week is the Elevate, raising the money for the playground. We printed the cards and we passed those out, thinking that you could easily scan and make a donation. And so one thing that both directors mentioned was a competition where students we would set like a tier. If you yesterday, in fact, I was meeting with this dentist. If you raise $25, then the Friday before the Christmas break, you get the bounce house or movie. If you raise $50, then you get the movie. If you're older, and pizza or bounce house and pizza. But yeah, it really has surprised me that we have not generated a larger response with donations for the Elevate. Another thing that we did is the directors each met with the senior class, and we told the senior class that if they would help us raise the money, that we would put a plaque out by the playground that had all their names on it, and say that they supported this project and helped to reach the goal of the project. And so we've had that conversation. That we're talking about the Elevate now. We just cannot generate the momentum. I mean, it's just.
Is it based on like that? It's just looks like just swing sets.
I don't know. That's something I've asked, because I actually gave the campus options and said, "What do you want?" And the kids picked swing sets, so we went with swing sets. I even thought about, okay, maybe it's because the swing sets, the older kids won't play on it. But the thing is, if we could make this successful, then the next option we're looking at is like a basketball court and a volleyball court. That we have got to make this one successful, or the university is not going to invest the time and energy in helping us create that Elevate page.
So you said that the students did pick the swings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering how that
Yeah,
came
we
about.
presented a couple options. Directors went to the students and the teachers to say, what do you want? But it was more options for elementary, because a playground's not for high school. But the goal is that this is just the first phase. In Longview, in fact, at the development council meeting on Tuesday that I attended, that they want to push forward with that volleyball court and that basketball court. And so, the same options could happen here. But we got a parent involvement day that is scheduled in Tyler, and Dennis and I have been talking about how do we motivate the parents to give. I met with a contact yesterday for the university for a call system. So basically, we would all take 10 names or 15 names and call parents. What do you think the response would be on that? To call a parent up and say, would you be willing to give? We've got a project that's going on. And what feedback are you getting?
What feedback I'm getting, I think some of them, understanding that this is really taking the place of a fundraiser like for cards or something, I don't know that is really getting across.
Okay.
One family suggested if they could have something ahead of time to say, I could give every month to help with the budget.
Okay, that is
You
an
know,
option.
Something where it's something that they can plan for.
Absolutely. It's basically, there's options at the university where you can say, I get $10 a month. Or I give, you know, $25 a month.
And I
That's
think some of the
deducted.
parents weren't sure how it was paid.
Okay.
I mean, just to,
Yeah,
to be invested in what are we going to have
Okay.
next and how that is. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Do you
Just-
think the coverage is something that they would buy into as well?
If yes, I think because it gets so hot and just having maybe if there's some picnic tables so they can have lunch outside covered would appeal to the masses.
Okay.
Just the I don't know how many swing sets, but I'm guessing like 4 to 6. And
I think it's the problem is not just the swing sets,
It's
it's
the
the additional borders and
Yes,
mulches
yes,
and
I get
things
that.
like that come into play. And I've even told Rachel Hawkins, I said, hey, if y'all can just meet the goal, then hey, we'll look at budgeting maybe for cover. So we
Okay.
show parents we're equally invested. You give us a little bit, we'll put a little bit in the budget so that we can make it a win-win for everybody. But that is our primary place for students to get out, these younger students.
You made a good point about the appealing to the masses, and one thing to think about is like your swing sets, like you just said, you just made the comment, it's very elementary oriented. So when you have a K-12 campus and you're talking about swing sets, the parents who have the kids that are K through say 4 or 5 are the ones who are going to probably donate to something like that, where like if you have a junior or senior, that's not really something that they're probably interested in. So maybe if they understood that, like, if this is successful, the next project is the basketball court or the volleyball court, or maybe we run them simultaneously so the parents of the older kids can be donating to those projects. Because the appealing to the masses thing, I think, is
it is one of the problems we've had for sure. That we just got to get over this hump. We really do have to make this one work. I mean, $13,000, we got to figure out how to get it. Like I told Hawkins and Dennis, and then we can sit down again to say, we'll celebrate, and now let's look at our next one. We're really trying to get away from all the fundraisers. I am not a fan of fundraisers. I completely, buy the wrapping paper and the school gets $25 and I paid the $100 for the wrapping paper or the $50 for the wrapping paper. And us having to go through the whole process of collecting that money, it's a nightmare. Most parents are the ones that have to buy the wrapping paper anyway, right? I mean, I'm the one that writes the check at the end of the day to buy all the wrapping paper for my kid because I don't want them to go around neighborhoods selling wrapping paper.
I wonder if you could somehow tie the giving in with the Christmas holidays. If you're wondering what to give your teacher, if grandparents say, what can I get little Johnny, consider making a donation to his school. If there's some kind of little card or something that he could open up on Christmas morning and say, hey, Grandpa just donated money for your swing set.
Yeah.
And then the kid also learns about it. It's more than
that's
just
a good idea
toy that's going to end up in the
we think the
closet.
competition's going to do it. That's one way that we, if you look at these fundraiser companies, you know what they do? They say to kids, if you sell 5 items, you get a bounce house. If you sell 7 items, you get a bounce house and a 25-cent, ball. If and so we're kind of looking at some way to really motivate them because they can go home and ask mom and dad for the $10 or $15 and it might make a bigger difference. So.
Well, how about, I feel like you're way more community oriented than that. Just step outside of that paradigm, and how about if we meet this goal, then, just work, some sort of a gathering for everybody.
Yeah.
Like a family dance.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, I'm just,
School-wide celebration.
some kind of school-wide celebration,
We've appealed to a lot of businesses in Palestine.
Yeah, oh
And
my
we've
gosh,
had-
I've raised 300 plus thousand.
Yeah, we've appealed to businesses. We've appealed to. We set up our finances a little bit different in that it's not coming to the university; it's coming to a private set aside, so that there's no tangle.
Right,
we
a third
dictate
party.
where- It's a third party, so that we say exactly where the money's going, and we've appealed to businesses for their name plaques, or they've had engaged in having a part of developing and growing this University Academy, which is a blessing to our community. So we've seen success through that. We've had we've done private dinners and done some things to just appeal to the community. We've seen some great response.
That's awesome.
I don't know that it would work everywhere, but it has
It has
worked
worked
in
there.
house.
When you say we, are you, has it,
The development board there at the university,
so it's been a group of people that are,
and then
because I think we're looking like for, like, who is the marketer,
right.
you know, behind the success of Palestine?
So we're utilizing the development board for the university there at the Palestine campus, and I've worked closely with them and shared vision, and they bought into it, of course, and so.
Because we were trying to, you know, think about, especially with our interns, going, you know, making connections with businesses and marketing what it is we as a campus could provide to Longview community and businesses, and just finding how those link up. I guess we're still in that development.
The only thing you have to really be careful about is the advancement office.
Yes.
And approaching businesses. Like, you can't go approach Brookshire's really about large donation amounts,
Right.
because the advancement office, you know, they already have,
Right.
they have pharmacy buildings, so they really kind of, if we're going to approach businesses, it's got to go through like the advancement office and things like that, because it's got to be a partnership or a communication.
Maybe that depends on who's doing it, because if it's an external group,
Right.
friends of, something like that.
Right.
And
Which is
those
another
are
reason
really
why
just
the
community
PTO
guys for that.
is really needs to be like step out from under. Because if the PTO is the one going to them and talking, that's a lot different than if it's us as a
Yeah,
That's right.
I don't want to miss this.
We wrote a grant proposal to EA, and apparently we made the finals, and they're calling about it. So she wants to go.
Yeah.
Oh.
Great.
Oh,
This is for like 350,000.
Wow.
I'm finishing up on this. It turns out it's due in 2 hours.
So.
I think some of the main donors that would be interested are those that are interested in physical activity of children. So if your workout facilities, your pediatric offices, those people that realize how important it is to get out of a seated indoor learning place and go outside and exercise. It's just an idea. They may be. I don't even know if Anytime Fitness or, you know, whatever kind of places are there.
Even grants from like Heart Association or the, you know, I mean, like, I know, you know, my child was involved in 4-H, and a lot of the activities that our 4-H club did, even though 4-H is partially funded for certain curriculum, when they wanted to do things outside of that or like add to that program, they would do grant opportunities and write grants to get, you know, so they could buy things to basically make that project better. So like, it was partially funded by 4-H and by Texas A&M, you know, but then they would go out and write an outside grant to bring in additional funds to buy products and things. So maybe, you know, like she said,
Maybe the PTO could write the grant to say, you know, we're trying to help.
All right. I'm sorry that this other grant's due in like for them in like 2 hours. So, nothing like pushing it to the last second. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second? We are adjourned, and I apologize. I didn't hear a word you guys said the last time.
But I think you're donating a lot of money.
Yes.
Isn't that what was?
Thank you.
I donate a lot of stuff over time.
You know,